Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. Have you ever had that gnawing feeling in your gut that something's fundamentally wrong, but you just can't put your finger on what the hell the problem is? Well, that's been my reality for the past 6 months, and I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to drive me absolutely crazy. I have this sneaking suspicion that my wife, Vanessa, my wife of 7 wonderful years, is cheating on me. My name is Ethan Bradford, and I'm 29 years old. I talked to Vanessa about our relationship multiple times during these months, trying to get a read on things, and she warmly assured me that everything was just fine between us. She'd smile that beautiful smile of hers, kiss me on the cheek, and tell me I was being silly. But the feeling wouldn't go away. I even went so far as to hire my cousin Dylan, who was unemployed at the time, to shadow her for a couple of weeks. I sat him down in a rental car, handed him a high-quality video camera, and told him to record anything that seemed even remotely suspicious. Dylan did a meticulous job of following her around and carefully videotaping her as she went about her daily activities. But throughout his entire 2-week observation period, he was unable to detect any questionable activities whatsoever. My job as a senior project manager at First National Bank, one of the larger financial institutions here in Denver, requires me to be in the office all day long. I don't travel often, maybe once or twice a year at most, and I never work on weekends. I also rarely have to work late at the bank, so Vanessa could never complain about me being away from home too often or neglecting our relationship. For a young 29-year-old guy, I make pretty good money. We're not rich by any means, but we're comfortable. We live in a nice house in Highlands Ranch with a view of the mountains, and we both drive decent cars, nothing flashy, but reliable and paid off. Vanessa and I don't have children yet, but we lead quite active lives. We hang out with several different groups of friends, including our neighbors, my colleagues from the bank, and our old friends from college. We're also both really into cycling, so we sometimes meet up with a few other couples who are members of our bike club for weekend rides through the foothills. In short, my wife and I look like the perfect couple from a storybook. Taking all this into account, I racked my brain for weeks, hell months, trying to come up with a concrete reason why Vanessa could possibly be cheating on me, but I kept coming up empty. Without finding any real clues, I was starting to wonder if maybe I was just losing my mind. Both of us had agreed early in our marriage that we wanted to wait to try to have children until she turned 30, because we wanted to be a financially secure couple by then. Besides, we both wanted to have fun, enjoy life, and enjoy each other before spending the next 20 to 25 years raising kids and dealing with all the responsibilities that come with parenthood. Vanessa is about 6 months younger than me, so we had some time. She works as a mobile dog groomer, which is actually a pretty cool setup. Her fine arts degree didn't do much for her in the job market when she was trying to find a job in that field after graduation. Turns out the market for artists is pretty saturated, so I suggested she just start her own business doing what she liked best. Well, she absolutely loves dogs. We have 2 at home ourselves, a golden retriever named Max and a border collie named Luna. So we took out a small business loan and bought this custom trailer that she hooks up to her SUV, and voila, Vanessa's mobile pet care was born. She took to the business like a natural. Within 6 months, she had dozens of regular clients, and she visited each of them at their homes about once a month to groom their pets. Her heated trailer has hot water, a vacuum system, a professional-grade hairdryer, air conditioning, and everything else she might need to take care of dogs. It's basically a salon on wheels. Some of her wealthier clients actually have a dedicated pet washing and grooming annex next to their garage, so sometimes she uses their facility instead of her trailer. It just depends on the weather and the client's preference. Vanessa has one of those small handheld credit card terminals that allows her to accept plastic payments for her services, but she seems to receive most of her money in cash. I know this because I helped her with her bookkeeping and tax forms every quarter. The cash income was always properly documented, or at least I thought it was. So what made me think she was cheating on me? Damn it, if I knew for certain, I wouldn't be going through this hell. We have always had, and still have, a great intimate life. Vanessa is willing to try just about anything in bed, and she's never been shy about expressing what she wants. For my part, I can't remember ever saying no to anything she asked me to do. We're compatible in that way, you know? Always have been. We're both home almost every evening and every weekend. We always communicate well, or at least I thought we did. We ride bikes together, go to the gym together, watch movies on the couch together. So when and where could she possibly cheat on me? The only time we really spend apart is during our work hours, which is exactly why I hired Dylan to watch her for those 2 weeks. Dylan really surprised me by providing a complete and detailed account of her activities. I'm talking exact times, GPS locations, videos of her arriving at each client's house and leaving after the appointment. He documented where she was in between calls, usually grabbing lunch at Chipotle or Panera, or stopping at PetSmart for supplies. No matter how many times I looked at the report, there were no illogical gaps or inexplicable discrepancies in her timeline. All her time in the field was fully documented and accounted for. I even cross-referenced the cash receipts she'd shown me with her appointment calendar, and they all appeared to be correctly formatted and consistent with her appointments. Everything checked out on paper. And yet, something still felt off. It was almost imperceptible, you know? Something in her eyes, in her smile, in the tone of her voice. It was simply not the same as before, and this had been going on for about 6 months now. I couldn't just stand in front of her, directly announce my doubts to her face, and accuse her of anything simply because I had absolutely nothing concrete to blame her for. No smoking gun, no damning evidence, just this feeling. Damn, maybe I really was being paranoid. Maybe I was going crazy. I watched her carefully when we went out with friends, but mostly she just hung out with the other women in our group. I'd never seen her sneaking whispers to another guy at parties. She never disappeared anywhere suspicious. She didn't retire with anyone for an hour to chat over a glass of beer or a cocktail. If anything, she seemed more social and outgoing than ever. I tried to observe my wife as discreetly and cautiously as possible, but Connor, one of my oldest and closest friends, nevertheless noticed something unusual in my behavior at the last big party we attended at Jake Morrison's house. "Ethan, dude, you have to let go of her leash," Connor said, pulling me aside into Jake's kitchen. "It seems like you won't let this poor girl get more than 20 feet away from you all night. What's going on, buddy?" Embarrassed that my secret intentions were so transparent to prying eyes, I shushed him quickly and asked him to keep his voice down. The last thing I needed was for Vanessa to overhear this conversation. "Connor, look, I have a feeling she might be playing around on the side, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm trying to keep my eyes on her." I felt stupid even saying it out loud. Connor seemed simply amazed at my suspicions. His eyes went wide and he actually laughed. Not a mean laugh, but a genuinely shocked one. "Is this a joke? Are you seriously kidding me right now? Vanessa, you think Vanessa is cheating on you?" He raised his eyebrows and snorted, as if I had just blurted out some of the most utter nonsense he'd ever heard in his life. "I know how it sounds. Huh, you're just crazy, dude. No way. Absolutely no way Vanessa would get mixed up with anyone. Especially not at this party. How do you know? How can you be so sure she's not having something going on with one of these guys?" "That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out. Get over yourself, dude." Connor put his hand on my shoulder. "Listen to me. About half the guys here have been hitting on her at various times over the years, because she's hot. Sorry, buddy, but it's a fact. I mean, look at her." He gestured through the doorway to where Vanessa stood in the living room, talking animatedly with a group of women. She's slim, toned, with a great figure, great legs, a beautiful face, and a smile that literally lights up the whole room. "Damn it, you're just incredibly lucky, man." Connor clicked his tongue in admiration and lightly punched me in the shoulder. I didn't particularly like where this was going. "Okay, now look," he continued, warming to his theme. "All these guys have hovered around her like bees over a flower. They've stuck to her at parties, tried to buy her drinks, complimented her, the whole 9 yards. But which of them was lucky? Which one actually got anywhere with her? He paused dramatically. None of us. He made a somewhat deliberate, pitifully upset grimace. Yes, I said us, because I myself have pestered her at every opportunity over the years. I'll admit it. She's gorgeous and funny and smart. And yeah, I've flirted with her. So have Tyler, so has Jake, so has pretty much every single guy in our friend group. Connor raised his index finger and shook it a little drunkenly in front of my face. But you know what she does? She never did anything other than laugh in our faces. Every time. The other guys have said the same thing. She always turns everything into a joke and even mockingly makes fun of all our attempts to flirt with her. It's like she's got this invisible force field around her that says, I'm married and happy. Don't even try. He stared across the room at Vanessa with what I recognized as poorly concealed admiration. Maybe even a touch of lust. God, what I wouldn't give to be in your place for at least one night. His words should have calmed my suspicions, but honestly, I didn't really like the way he was looking at my wife. I frowned. Oh my God, Connor. Do I have to kick your ass to keep you away from my wife? That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you, you fool. Connor laughed and gripped my shoulder harder. You don't have to do anything at all, because for all of us, she is completely untouchable. The untouchable lady, that's what Tyler started calling her. But believe me, as a friend, as someone who's known you since college, this is exactly the case. She's loyal to you, completely loyal. He patted me on the shoulder, his expression becoming more serious. Well, that's what you say, I drawled, rubbing my chin thoughtfully. You may be right, but something is happening. I can feel it. I just know it. Listen, Ethan, Connor said, his voice dropping lower and becoming more intense. I love you like a brother, man. You know that. But if you screw this up and piss her off with your stupid, paranoid suspicions so much that she leaves your jealous ass, then I swear to God, I will be the first one in line. I'll be there to pick up the pieces, and I won't feel bad about it for 1 second. Do you understand what I'm saying? I stared at him, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you, he said seriously. Don't throw away the best thing that ever happened to you because you're imagining problems that don't exist. That's all I'm saying. As your friend. But I couldn't let it go. That nagging doubt had its hooks in me too deep now. About 3 weeks after that party, I asked Dylan if he'd be willing to do another surveillance run. This time, I had a more specific request. I need you to pay special attention to her trailer. I told him over coffee at a Starbucks near his apartment in Capitol Hill. The mobile grooming unit. I want to know everything about how she's using it. Dylan, who was still between jobs and happy for the cash, nodded. What exactly am I looking for? Anything unusual. Anything that doesn't make sense for a standard dog grooming business. I can't explain it better than that. Just trust your instincts. If something feels off, document it. Dylan went back to work, and for the next week and a half, I heard nothing from him. I was starting to think maybe I really was crazy, that there was nothing to find. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Ethan, we need to meet, Dylan said. His voice had that tight quality that told me he'd found something. Are you free tonight? We met at a quiet coffee shop in Cherry Creek. One of those places that's always half empty on weeknight evenings. Dylan slid into the booth across from me with his laptop bag. He looked uncomfortable. Before I show you this, he said quietly, I want you to know that I triple-checked everything. I made sure I wasn't misinterpreting what I was seeing. I even went back and reviewed footage from the first surveillance run, looking for patterns I might have missed. My heart was pounding. Just show me. Dylan opened his laptop and pulled up a spreadsheet. Okay, so like I told you before, Vanessa's schedule is pretty regular. She has her standard clients that she visits on a monthly rotation. Most appointments last about 45 minutes to an hour. That's normal for grooming a dog, especially a larger breed. But I noticed something weird. He highlighted 4 entries on the spreadsheet. These 4 clients: Mitchell Grayson in Cherry Hills Village, Preston Caldwell in Greenwood Village, Spencer Whitmore in Castle Pines, and Lawrence Fontaine in Littleton. She spends significantly longer at their houses. 90 minutes, sometimes 2 full hours. Maybe they have multiple dogs? Or difficult breeds? That's what I thought at first, Dylan said. So I did some research. Grayson has 1 dog, a Labrador. Caldwell has a Cocker Spaniel. Whitmore has 2 small dogs, both under 20 pounds. Fontaine has a single golden retriever. None of them should require 2-hour grooming sessions. He clicked to another tab. So I started paying closer attention to these 4 appointments specifically. I positioned myself where I could observe from a distance without being obvious. And Ethan, I saw something. Dylan pulled up a video file. The footage was clearly shot from inside a car with a telephoto lens. Zoomed in on Vanessa's trailer parked in a large driveway. The quality was good enough to make out details. This is from yesterday morning at the Grayson residence, Dylan said quietly. I watched the video. Vanessa's SUV was parked in the circular driveway of a large suburban home. The trailer was unhitched and sitting there, windows covered with those reflective privacy curtains she'd installed to keep the dogs calm while she worked. In the video, a man emerged from the house, mid-40s, fit, wearing expensive casual clothes. Mitchell Grayson, presumably. He walked to the trailer and knocked. Vanessa opened the door, smiled, and let him inside. Through a small gap where the curtains didn't quite meet, I could see movement inside. My stomach churned. What am I looking at? Just watch. The video continued. Nothing happened for several minutes. Then Dylan fast-forwarded it. The timestamp showed 90 minutes had passed. The trailer door opened, and the man emerged, adjusting his shirt. Vanessa appeared in the doorway behind him. They talked for a moment. I couldn't hear what they were saying, and then the man handed her what looked like cash. She tucked it into her pocket. They exchanged a few more words, and he walked back to his house. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That doesn't necessarily mean there's more, Dylan said gently. He pulled up another video. This is from 3 days ago at the Caldwell residence. The same pattern. A different man, a different house, but the same sequence of events. Man comes to trailer, goes inside, stays for 90 minutes, emerges and hands over cash. Dylan showed me 2 more videos. Spencer Whitmore, Lawrence Fontaine. Same thing. I went back through her calendar for the past year, Dylan said, pulling up another spreadsheet. These 4 men, like clockwork, once a month each. She's been doing this for at least 14 months based on her scheduling records that I cross-referenced. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, staring at the laptop screen, trying to process what I was seeing. I'm sorry, man, Dylan said, but you needed to know. There's one more thing. He pulled up a photo. I managed to get a look inside the trailer yesterday when she was loading supplies. There's a mattress in there, Ethan. Not a dog bed. A full-sized human mattress. The coffee shop suddenly felt too hot, too bright, too loud. I pushed away from the table and stood up, needing to move, needing to do something. What do you want me to do? Dylan asked. I can keep gathering evidence if you need more or... No, I said, my voice coming out harsh. No, this is enough. I need copies of everything. Every video, every photo, every spreadsheet. Put it all on a flash drive. Already done. He pulled a small USB drive from his pocket. It's all here. Timestamps, locations, everything. I also included the names and addresses of all 4 men, plus some basic information about them. Their businesses, their wives' names, that kind of thing. I took the flash drive, feeling its small weight in my palm. This tiny thing held the evidence that would blow up my entire life. Did you figure out how much? I asked quietly. Dylan nodded. Based on the patterns and some discreet inquiries I made, it looks like she's charging $200 per appointment. For clients, once a month each. That's about $9,000 to $10,000 a year in cash income that I'm guessing isn't making it onto her tax returns. $200. My wife was selling herself for $200 an hour. Thanks, Dylan, I managed to say. Send me your invoice for the surveillance work. Ethan, I'm really sorry, man. This sucks. Yeah, I said. It does. I left the coffee shop and sat in my car for a long time, just staring at the flash drive in my hand. Part of me wanted to throw it away, pretend I'd never seen any of this, go home and have dinner with my wife like nothing had happened. But I couldn't unknow what I now knew. I had decisions to make. But first, I needed to talk to a lawyer. Rebecca Thornton's law office was located in a modern building in downtown Denver with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a spectacular view of the Rocky Mountains. She came highly recommended by a colleague at the bank who'd gone through his own divorce a couple years back. Her reputation was solid, tough, strategic, and discreet. Mr. Bradford, she said, shaking my hand firmly as I entered her office. She was in her mid-40s with sharp features and an even sharper suit. Please have a seat. Tell me what brings you here today. I sat down in one of the leather chairs across from her desk and placed Dylan's flash drive on the polished wood surface between us. I have evidence, I said simply, that my wife has been engaging in ongoing physical relationships with 4 different men in exchange for money. It's been going on for over a year. Rebecca's eyebrows rose slightly, but her expression remained professionally neutral. That's quite an allegation. What kind of evidence are we talking about? Video surveillance, photographs, financial records, documented patterns over 14 months. It's all on here. I pushed the flash drive toward her. She picked it up and plugged it into her computer. For the next 30 minutes, she reviewed the files in silence, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. I sat there, watching her face for any reaction, but she remained impassive. Finally, she looked up. This is extremely comprehensive documentation, Mr. Bradford. Your investigator did thorough work. These 4 men, Mitchell Grayson, Preston Caldwell, Spencer Whitmore, and Lawrence Fontaine, are all married, correct? As far as I know, yes. And you want to file for divorce? Yes, but not just that. I leaned forward. I want their wives to know. I want everyone to know what happened. I'm done being the fool who didn't see what was happening right under his nose. Rebecca set down her pen and looked at me seriously. Mr. Bradford, may I call you Ethan? Sure. Ethan, I understand you're angry. You have every right to be. What your wife did is a betrayal on multiple levels. But I need you to think carefully about what you're asking for here. Public exposure, while satisfying in the moment, can have long-term consequences for everyone involved, including you. I don't care. You might care later, she said gently. Divorce is already emotionally difficult. Adding a public spectacle to it can make things exponentially worse. It can affect your professional reputation, your social relationships, your mental health. Rebecca, I said, keeping my voice steady, my wife has been running what amounts to a side business for over a year, using equipment I helped her buy, during work hours that I supported her through. She's made almost $10,000 in cash from these arrangements, and she used that money to fund vacations and personal expenses. Expenses that she framed as legitimate business income. She looked me in the eye every single day and lied to me. I paused, feeling the anger rising in my chest. She made a fool of me. She made those 4 men complicit in making a fool of me. And their wives have been just as deceived as I have. So yes, I want this to be public. I want everyone to understand exactly what happened. Rebecca studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. All right, if that's what you want, then let's talk about how to do this strategically. You mentioned wanting the wives to know. Do you have a specific plan in mind? Actually, yes. I pulled out my phone and showed her the calendar event. 3 weeks from now, Vanessa and I are supposed to leave for a 2-week vacation in Maui. She organized it using money from her Business. She's invited 4 couples to see us off at the airport, social friends from our cycling club and neighborhood. Those 4 couples happen to include Mitchell and Natalie Grayson, Preston and Caroline Caldwell, Spencer and Jennifer Whitmore, and Lawrence and Diana Fontaine. Rebecca's eyes widened slightly. She invited them to your send-off party? She did. She thought it would be fun to have a big group see us off, make it a celebration. I've already told her I'd arrange a private lounge at Denver International, so everyone can relax with drinks and appetizers before our flight. And you want to serve her with divorce papers there. I want to serve her with divorce papers there, in front of everyone. I want the 4 wives to receive evidence packets at the same time. And I want those 4 men to understand that their comfortable lives are about to get very complicated. Rebecca was quiet for a moment, tapping her pen thoughtfully against her legal pad. Then, to my surprise, she smiled just slightly. That's quite theatrical, she said. And legally speaking, there's nothing preventing us from doing exactly that. Serving divorce papers in a public place is unconventional but perfectly legal. Providing evidence to potentially interested parties, like the wives, is also legal, as long as we're not distributing it more broadly. Can you make it happen? I can make it happen, she confirmed. But let's talk about the specifics. We'll need to prepare the divorce petition, which in Colorado is a no-fault state, so we'll be citing irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. We can't actually sue for adultery here, but we can absolutely use this evidence to demonstrate why you deserve a favorable settlement. What about the men? Can I do anything to them legally? Rebecca shook her head. Unfortunately, Colorado doesn't recognize alienation of affection lawsuits. However, she paused, that slight smile returning. There's nothing stopping us from having my office send them official-looking letters that might suggest legal action is being considered. It won't be actionable, but it will certainly get their attention and make them very nervous. I like that. I thought you might. Now, let's talk about timing and execution. Over the next hour, Rebecca and I worked out the details of the plan. She would prepare all the necessary documents. She would have evidence packets prepared for each of the 4 wives, carefully curated selections of photos and documentation that would make the situation clear without being unnecessarily graphic. She would arrange for her assistant to be present at the airport to serve the papers. One more thing, I said as we were wrapping up. I want a banner, a big one, professionally made, that says, Bon Voyage. I want it unfurled at exactly the right moment. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. You're really committing to the theatrical approach. She made a production out of this vacation, using money she earned by betraying me. I think it's appropriate that her send-off becomes a different kind of production. Fair enough. I'll include the banner in our arrangements. Rebecca stood and extended her hand. I'll have the initial documents ready for your review by the end of the week. In the meantime, I need to ask you something important. Can you maintain normal behavior at home? Can you continue acting like everything is fine for the next 3 weeks? That was going to be the hardest part. Going home every night, eating dinner with her, sleeping in the same bed, pretending that my entire world hadn't just shattered. I'll do what I have to do, I said. Good. Because if she suspects something is coming, she might take defensive action. Move money, hide assets, cancel the trip. We need the element of surprise. I shook her hand. You'll have it. Maintaining the facade at home was harder than I'd anticipated. Every time Vanessa smiled at me, every time she touched my hand or kissed me goodnight, I felt this combination of rage and revulsion and overwhelming sadness. But I kept it together. I threw myself into work at the bank, taking on extra projects to keep my mind occupied. My colleagues probably thought I was gunning for a promotion. In reality, I just needed to stay busy so I wouldn't think about what was waiting for me at home. Vanessa, for her part, seemed happier than ever. She was excited about the Hawaii trip, constantly showing me her packing list, talking about which beaches we'd visit and which restaurants we should try. She'd made reservations at some fancy resort in Wailea, booked a sunset dinner cruise, even arranged for us to go snorkeling at Malakini Crater. "This is going to be the trip of a lifetime," she said one evening as we sat on the couch. She had her laptop open, showing me photos of the resort pool. "I'm so glad we're doing this, Ethan. We work so hard all year. We deserve this kind of vacation." I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 7 years, and wondered how she could sit there so calmly knowing what she'd been doing. Did she feel any guilt at all? Or had she really convinced herself that it was just business, just another service she provided, completely separate from our marriage? "Yeah," I managed to say. "It'll be memorable, that's for sure." About 10 days before the trip, Connor called to meet for drinks. We met at a brewpub near Coors Field. "You seem better, man," he said, raising his beer glass. "Last time we talked, you were all paranoid about Vanessa. I'm glad you worked through that." I took a long drink of my IPA, letting the bitter taste wash over my tongue. "Yeah, I worked through it. See? I told you there was nothing to worry about. Vanessa's solid. You just got in your own head for a while." I almost told him right then. Almost showed him the flash drive that I carried with me everywhere now, like a talisman of truth. But I didn't. He'd find out soon enough. "You coming to the airport send-off?" I asked instead. "Wouldn't miss it." Sarah's excited too. She's never been to a fancy airport lounge before. "Thanks for setting that up, by the way. Pretty cool of you." "I wanted to make it special," I said, and I meant it, just not in the way he thought. The night before the airport confrontation, I barely slept. Vanessa was beside me, sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that tomorrow would be the last day of our marriage. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathe, thinking about all the good times we'd had together. There had been good times, real ones, moments of genuine connection and love. That's what made this so much worse, knowing that all of it, every happy memory, was now tainted by what she'd done. I'd never be able to look back on our marriage without thinking about her trailer, those 4 men, those $200 bills changing hands. Around 3 in the morning, I got up and went down to the home office. I sat at my desk and looked at our wedding photo on the shelf. Vanessa in her white dress, me in my suit, both of us grinning like idiots, so happy and in love. I wondered if she'd ever loved me at all, or if I'd just been convenient. A stable income, a nice house, someone to come home to while she ran her side business. No, that wasn't fair. I knew she'd loved me once. Maybe she still did in her own twisted way. But love wasn't enough. Trust was the foundation, and she'd demolished it completely. I put the photo face down in the drawer and went back to bed. Saturday morning arrived cold and clear, typical October weather in Denver. Vanessa was up at dawn, even though our flight wasn't until early afternoon. She was one of those people who couldn't relax before a trip, always convinced she'd forgotten something important. "Do you think 2 swimsuits is enough?" she called from the bedroom. "Or should I pack a third one?" "2 is fine," I called back, pouring myself coffee in the kitchen. My hands were surprisingly steady. I thought I'd be more nervous, but instead I just felt this cold sense of purpose. "I'm so excited I can barely stand it," she said, coming down the stairs with her carry-on bag. She was wearing a bright sundress and sandals, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked beautiful. She looked happy. She had no idea what was coming. "You look nice," I said, because I had to say something. "Thanks, babe." She kissed me quickly. "Oh, I confirmed with everyone last night. All 4 couples are definitely coming to the lounge. Mitchell said he and Natalie are really looking forward to it." I bet he did. "Great," I said. "I've arranged for a limo service to pick everyone up and bring them to the airport. That way nobody has to worry about parking." "You're so thoughtful," Vanessa said, hugging me. "This is going to be such a fun send-off. Thank you for making it special." The ride to DIA took about 45 minutes. Vanessa chatted the entire time about the trip, about how great it was going to be to just relax on the beach, about the spa day she'd booked for us at the resort. I made appropriate responses, nodding and smiling, while inside I felt completely hollow. We arrived at the airport around noon. I'd arranged for our luggage to be checked in advance through a concierge service. Another detail that Vanessa had thought was just me being extra nice. In reality, I didn't want her to have easy access to her bags after everything went down. The private lounge was perfect, spacious and comfortable, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the runways. I'd arranged for catering: artisan cheeses and crackers, fruit platters, shrimp cocktail, mini sandwiches. There was a full bar set up in the corner, with a bartender ready to make drinks. "Oh my God, Ethan, this is amazing," Vanessa said, looking around with delight. "You really outdid yourself." "Only the best," I said. The other couples started arriving around 12:30. Connor and Sarah came first, followed quickly by the 4 couples I'd been waiting for. Mitchell Grayson was exactly as I'd seen him in Dylan's videos, mid-40s, fit, with that kind of casual confidence that comes from money. His wife Natalie was elegant in a designer blouse and slacks, her blonde hair perfectly styled. They looked like they'd stepped out of a country club magazine. Preston and Caroline Caldwell arrived next. Preston owned several car dealerships around the Denver metro area. He had that gregarious car salesman energy, loud and friendly, immediately heading for the bar. Caroline was quieter, a small brunette woman who seemed sweet and shy. Spencer and Jennifer Whitmore came in holding hands. Spencer was a tech executive, younger than the other 2 men, probably late 30s. Jennifer was striking, tall and athletic, with long red hair. Lawrence and Diana Fontaine were the last to arrive. Lawrence was an attorney, estate planning and corporate law, according to Dylan's research. He had that professional polish that lawyers often have, every hair in place, perfect smile. Diana was probably 10 years younger than him, a former model according to social media, still gorgeous in her mid-30s. These were the people who had made a fool of me. These were the people who had been part of Vanessa's secret life for over a year. I watched them all mingle, drinking champagne, laughing, chatting about their own vacation plans. Mitchell and Preston were talking about a golf outing they had planned. The women were clustered together, admiring Vanessa's dress and talking about the Hawaii trip. Connor caught my eye at one point and gave me a thumbs up, mouthing, "This is awesome." He had no idea. At 12:55, I checked my watch. Rebecca's assistant, a professional-looking woman in her 30s named Amanda, entered the lounge carrying a briefcase. She caught my eye and nodded slightly. Everything was ready. At exactly 1 p.m., I stood up and tapped my glass with a knife, getting everyone's attention. The room quieted down, all eyes turning to me. "Hey everyone, thank you all so much for coming today," I began. "It means a lot to both Vanessa and me that you'd take time out of your Saturday to see us off." There were smiles and murmurs of course, and wouldn't miss it. I continued, keeping my voice warm and friendly. "Vanessa, you've been the love of my life for 9 years now. When we first met, I knew you were something special. And when you started your grooming business, I was so proud of how hard you worked to build it up. You really put your whole self into making it successful." Vanessa was beaming at me, her eyes shining with happiness. Behind her, I could see Amanda positioning herself by the door. "You've really busted your ass, excuse my language, to turn your small business into something profitable and successful." I saw Mitchell Grayson and Preston Caldwell exchange a quick glance at my choice of words. They got it. "And when you decided to use your business profits to pay for this incredible vacation to Hawaii, I was genuinely touched." I gestured, and right on cue, 2 staff members unfurled the large banner I had made. "Bon voyage" in elegant script, 12 feet across. "So I have a small gift for each of you," I said. "A token of appreciation for being here today." Amanda moved smoothly through the room, handing out manila envelopes. 1 to Vanessa, 4 to the wives, 4 to the men. one each to Connor and the other friends as well. These just contained thank you notes and gift cards, nothing dramatic. I watched Vanessa's face as she opened her envelope. Her smile faltered, her brow furrowed. Then her face went completely white as she pulled out the documents and saw the words "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage" at the top. "Summons officially served," Amanda announced clearly, her voice cutting through the sudden silence. For one heartbeat, nobody moved. Then Natalie Grayson opened her envelope and gasped audibly. I heard Caroline Caldwell make a small, wounded sound. Jennifer Whitmore said, "Oh my God," in a strangled voice. Diana Fontaine just stood there, frozen, staring at the photographs in her hand. The men were opening their letters, official-looking documents from Rebecca's law firm, suggesting that legal action was being considered, recommending they secure legal counsel immediately. "Ladies," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos erupting around me. "I apologize for the theatrical nature of this revelation, but I felt you deserved to know the truth. Everything is documented in those packets. Dates, times, locations, financial records." Vanessa found her voice. "Ethan, what is this? What are you doing? What am I doing?" I looked at her directly for the first time. "I'm ending a marriage that ended a long time ago. I just didn't know it yet." Natalie Grayson rounded on her husband. "Mitchell, what is this? What did you do?" "I can explain," Mitchell started, but his wife cut him off. "These are pictures of you." "Oh my God. Is that her trailer? You were in her trailer." Caroline Caldwell was crying now, loud sobs that echoed through the lounge. Preston tried to put his hand on her shoulder, but she jerked away violently. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." Jennifer Whitmore had gone very quiet, very still. She looked at the photographs, then at her husband, then at Vanessa. When she spoke, her voice was ice cold. "How much?" she asked. "How much did you pay her?" Spencer Whitmore's face had gone from pale to red. "Jennifer, how much?" 200, he whispered. Jennifer laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. $200. You destroyed our marriage for $200. Diana Fontaine had moved away from Lawrence, putting physical distance between them. Her perfect composure had cracked, and I could see fury in her eyes. 14 months, she said, her voice shaking. "You've been doing this for 14 months, Lawrence?" Vanessa was still standing there, holding the divorce papers, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, please, can we talk about this? Please." "There's nothing to talk about," I said. I looked around the room one last time, at the crying wives, at the panicking men, at Connor who stood there with his mouth hanging open in shock. And then I walked out. Behind me, I heard Vanessa scream my name. "Ethan! Ethan, wait! Please!" The airport announcement system came on. "Flight 482 to Maui, now boarding at gate B15. All passengers should proceed to the gate at this time." I heard more shouting, glass breaking. Someone had knocked over their champagne. But I kept walking, through the lounge door, down the concourse toward the exit. Connor caught up with me near the security checkpoint. "Jesus Christ, Ethan. What the hell just happened back there?" "That," I said, "was the truth coming out. All of them? She was with all of them. Once a month each for over a year. For money." Connor looked like he might be sick. "I had no idea. I swear to God, Ethan, I had no idea. I know you didn't. That stuff I said at the party about being there if you guys split up, man, I didn't mean it. I never would have." "I know," I said again. "Don't worry about it. You were right anyway, she was untouchable. Just not in the way we thought." I left him standing there and walked out into the cold October afternoon. I didn't look back. I stayed at a hotel that first night. A nice one downtown with a view of the city lights. I turned off my phone and just sat in the silence, processing everything that had happened. When I finally turned my phone back on the next morning, I had 73 missed calls and twice as many text messages. Most were from Vanessa. Some were from Connor and other friends. A few were from numbers I didn't recognize, probably the 4 men or their wives. I deleted all of them without reading or listening. Rebecca called around noon. "Mr. Bradford, just checking in. How are you doing?" "I'm okay," I said, and surprisingly I felt empty, but not devastated. Angry, but not consumed by it. "What's the status?" "Mrs. Bradford's attorney reached out this morning. They want to negotiate a settlement. She's not going to contest the divorce." "Smart of her." "The evidence is pretty overwhelming," Rebecca agreed. "They'd be fools to try to fight this. We should be able to get this resolved relatively quickly, assuming you're willing to be reasonable about asset division." "I don't want to drag it out," I said. "I just want it done." "Understood. I'll let them know we're open to negotiation." "Oh, and Ethan? I heard from a colleague that 3 of the 4 couples are filing for divorce as well. The Fontaines are trying counseling, but the others are done." I felt a grim satisfaction at that. At least I wasn't the only one whose life had been upended. Over the next 3 weeks, Rebecca and I hammered out the divorce settlement. Vanessa agreed to a 50-50 split of all assets, which was actually generous of her given the circumstances. No alimony on either side. She'd keep her business and equipment. I'd keep the house. We'd sell the house eventually and split the proceeds, but for now I'd buy out her half of the equity. It was all very civil and professional on paper. We never spoke directly during this time. Everything went through the lawyers. But then, as the final paperwork was being prepared, Vanessa's attorney made a request. She wanted to meet with me just once, face to face. "She says she needs closure," Rebecca told me over the phone. "She wants 30 minutes to talk to you." What could she possibly have to say that would matter now? "Probably nothing," Rebecca admitted. "But sometimes letting them say their piece helps everyone move on. It's your call." I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to refuse, to never see her again, to just sign the papers and be done with it all. But another part of me wanted to hear what she'd say. Wanted to understand, if that was even possible, how she'd justified this to herself. "Fine," I said. 30 minutes. But only after everything is signed and finalized. The meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon in mid-November, in Rebecca's conference room. I arrived deliberately late, 15 minutes past the scheduled time, just because I could. It was petty, but I was still angry enough not to care. Vanessa was already there when I walked in. She stood up quickly as I entered, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. She looked different. Thinner, I thought. Tired. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a plain sweater. Nothing like the vibrant, put-together woman I'd been married to. "Ethan," she said softly, "thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to talk to me." I sat down across the conference table from her without responding. Rebecca had left us alone, though she was in her office next door if I needed her. Vanessa sat back down slowly, like she was afraid sudden movements might spook me. "I know you don't owe me anything," she began, her voice quiet and hesitant. "I know I don't deserve your time or your consideration, but I needed to try to explain. I needed you to understand that what I did, it wasn't about you. It wasn't because I didn't love you or wasn't happy in our marriage." "Then what was it about?" I asked, my voice flat. "It was just business," she said, and I could hear the desperation in her voice, the need for me to understand this. A transaction, commercial service. It didn't mean anything emotionally. It was like any other aspect of my grooming business, like clipping nails or brushing coats. Just another service I provided. I stared at her, genuinely amazed. "You actually believe that?" "Yes, because it's true. Those men, Mitchell, Preston, Spencer, Lawrence, they meant nothing to me. Less than nothing. They were just clients. You were always the only person I loved. Ethan. The only man who mattered. The only one I wanted to be with. But you did it anyway. Because it was good money. The words burst out of her, frustrated. And it was easy. And they were willing to pay. And I thought I could keep those things separate. Keep you separate from all of that. Keep our marriage separate. She leaned forward across the table, reaching for my hands. I pulled back, crossing my arms over my chest. Ethan, please. We had such a good life together. 7 years of happiness. Can't we move past this? It was just a stupid business decision. A mistake. But it doesn't have to end everything. A stupid business decision, I repeated. That went on for over a year. I know it sounds bad when you put it like that. It sounds bad because it is bad, Vanessa. I kept my voice controlled, but I could feel anger simmering beneath. Let me ask you something. When you made that first arrangement with Mitchell Grayson, did you stop for even 1 second to think about how I would feel if I found out? She looked down at her hands. No, because you knew the answer. You knew exactly how I would feel, and you did it anyway. Yes. Her voice was barely audible. You made a calculated decision to betray me, to lie to me every single day for over a year. And you did it for what? $8,000–9,000? Money you didn't even need. I make good money. We were comfortable. You did it because you could, and because you wanted the extra cash for luxuries. Tears were streaming down her face now, her mascara running. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could take it back. But you can't, I interrupted. And honestly, Vanessa, I don't think you would even if you could. Because to you, it still doesn't mean anything. You still don't understand why it matters. But I do understand. I understand now. I lost you. I lost everything that mattered to me because of this stupid. Stop, I said, raising my hand. Stop calling it stupid. It wasn't stupid. It was calculated, intentional, and sustained over many months. You knew what you were doing. You knew it was wrong, or you would have told me about it. But you kept it secret because you knew I would never agree to it. I stood up, pulling 2 worn $100 bills from my back pocket. I'd been carrying them for days, waiting for this moment. I placed them on the conference table in front of her. Here, for your time today. Your standard rate, I believe. Vanessa recoiled like I'd slapped her. Her whole body shuddered, and she closed her eyes tightly. Her lips trembled, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Ethan, please don't. You wanted to explain yourself. You did. You wanted me to understand that it didn't mean anything to you. I understand. But here's what you need to understand, Vanessa. It meant something to me. It meant everything to me. My wife's loyalty, her honesty, her fidelity, those things were everything to me. And you sold them for $200 an hour. I walked to the door and paused, looking back at her one final time. She had her face in her hands now, sobbing quietly, her shoulders shaking. A small part of me, a tiny, diminishing part, felt sorry for her. She genuinely seemed unable to comprehend that her internal feelings didn't matter when her actions had destroyed our marriage. In her mind, she'd kept me separate, protected, untouched by her business transactions. She didn't understand that you can't compartmentalize betrayal. Goodbye, Vanessa, I said quietly as I walked out of the conference room, through Rebecca's office lobby, and out into the cold November afternoon. The sky was gray and heavy with the promise of snow. Winter was coming to Denver. I got in my car and just sat there for a while, my hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. And then, for the first time since this whole thing began, I cried. Not for what I'd lost. The marriage was dead, and I knew it. But for what I'd thought I had. For the illusion that had been shattered. For the 7 years of memories that were now permanently tainted. After a while, the tears stopped. I wiped my face, started the engine, and drove away. The past was done. It was time to move forward. 6 months later, I'd sold the house in Highlands Ranch. Too many memories there. Too many ghosts. I bought a condo downtown instead. Something modern and sleek with big windows and minimal maintenance. A fresh start. Work at the bank was going well. I'd actually gotten that promotion my colleagues thought I was chasing, and the new responsibilities kept me busy. That was good. Staying busy helped. Connor and I were still friends, though things had been awkward for a while after the airport incident. He felt guilty about what he'd said at that party, about being willing to pursue Vanessa if I screwed things up. But I told him, and I meant it, that he hadn't done anything wrong. He'd been a good friend, trying to save me from what he thought was paranoid self-sabotage. He couldn't have known. The cycling club had been weird for a while too. People took sides the way they do in divorces. Some people thought I'd been too harsh, too theatrical in how I'd exposed everything. Others thought Vanessa got what she deserved. Eventually, I just stopped going to group rides. It was easier that way. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Vanessa had left Denver entirely, moved to Portland or Seattle, somewhere out west, started over with a new life. I didn't ask for details, and nobody offered them. Of the 4 couples who'd been at the airport that day, only Mitchell and Natalie Grayson stayed together. They'd gone through intensive marriage counseling, and apparently Natalie had decided that 15 years of marriage was worth trying to save, even after what Mitchell had done. I didn't understand it, but it wasn't my place to judge. Everyone has their own line in the sand. The other 3 couples all divorced. Preston Caldwell's wife took him for everything in the settlement. She got the house, the cars, and majority stake in the dealerships. Spencer Whitmore's divorce was quieter, more amicable, but still final. Lawrence and Diana Fontaine had tried to work it out, but ultimately Diana couldn't get past the betrayal. I didn't take any satisfaction in knowing I'd blown up multiple marriages that day. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about truth. Those wives deserved to know what their husbands had been doing, the same way I deserved to know what my wife had been doing. Sometimes, late at night in my new condo, I'd think about Vanessa. I'd wonder if she ever really understood why it had mattered so much. If she ever grasped that love without trust is just an empty word, that you can't compartmentalize betrayal into business and personal. I doubted it. Some people just can't see beyond their own perspective. But that was her problem now, not mine. It was time to move forward. And finally, after all these months, I was ready to do exactly that. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.